Hello, friends. Uncle Marv here with another episode of the IT Business Podcast, the show for IT professionals where we help you run your business better, smarter, and faster. This is the Wednesday live show presented by our friends over at ThreatLocker. And we've got a lot of stuff to cover tonight because I did not plan on doing what I'm going to do now. We have breaking news. Something I was not planning on talking about tonight, but in a stunning announcement today, Synology has officially reversed its restrictive drive compatibility policy for newer NAS models, allowing users to now fully utilize non-Synology drives again with the release of DSM 7.3 effective October 2025. Now, this, of course, has been a huge source of outrage from people that have been long Synology fans. And I've actually been one of the people that's been like, yeah, I'm okay with it. But, of course, a lot of people, especially on the lower end models, were not happy. And so this has just been something that Synology responded to. So there was extensive community backlash. So now what's happening is version 7.3 now permits third-party drives in 2025 DiskStation Plus, Value, and J-Series NAS. So those are still the lower-end models. They are still going to require compatibility validation with the enterprise models, which I think most people are probably okay with. The new update restores the ability to utilize most Seagate, Western Digital, or other HDDs/SDDs for storage pools. You can create, expand, and repair RAIDs with non-certified drives without disruptive warnings or restrictions. And you get, once again, access to full DSM features, including telemetry, smart diagnostics, and snapshots. So there are tons of places that are reporting this. Synology themselves did put out the press release this morning out of Bellevue, Washington. And they basically wrote, as data grows rapidly, advanced solutions are needed to manage, process, and unlock its full value, says Kenneth Sue, director of the system group at Synology. DSM 7.3 helps customers confidently address evolving data management challenges on a platform that it is secure, reliable, and ready to support AI transformation. I will have a link to that press article, and yes, I have already reached out to somebody at Synology to see if they will come on the show and respond, because regardless of what they put in their press release, it's basically them caving, them realizing that they, like the drink giant Coca-Cola, made a mistake when they tried to change their Coke formula, and Synology tried to make their changes. People are outraged, leaving in droves, and the way to get those people back, if they come back, is to allow those drives to be used again. So that is big breaking news. So I'll get more on that later. We'll reach out to Synology, as I said, and see if they'll come on and talk about that. Absolutely changes everything that has been in the Reddit forums, in the Facebook groups, all over the social medias. Just Synology getting hammered over that, and there they are. So if you are new to the show, this is the regular show. I come on here and we share news stories. I talk about the topics that help us run our business, support our customers. Tonight was a night that wasn't supposed to happen. I was supposed to be partying down in Miami, which is just south of here, at this year's DattoCon 2025. But if you are a regular listener and you can tell this is not my regular voice, it is not at full strength, it sounds a little scratchy, got sick over the weekend. It had been kind of building. I thought, no big deal. I'll get by. Got worse Sunday night, and I knew that I could not be around people, so I had to cancel heading down to Miami to DattoCon. So I am here supporting my customers and doing this. But that does not keep me from keeping in touch with the news, because, of course, the other big announcement came out of DattoCon that they have acquired EnGenius, the leading provider of AI-powered email security, or a leading provider. I'm not going to don them the king of the security. But this was announced at DattoCon 2025 to strengthen its cybersecurity and MSP-focused platform. The acquisition integrates advanced phishing protection, generative AI, and behavioral analysis features from EnGenius directly into Kaseya 365 user, enhancing defensive capabilities for managed service providers and SMB clients. And this was announced by the CEO, and I don't know how to pronounce her name because I wasn't there, but I'm going to say this, and you guys can yell at me later, but it feels like it should be Rania Sakar. And she announced that EnGenius technology will now leverage Kaseya's global data and infrastructure, offering improved threat protection, faster response time, and real-time user coaching against sophisticated features, sophisticated phishing. So, of course, again, tons of feedback from MSPs out there. A lot of people saying, I just signed up with EnGenius, guess I'll have to figure out a way to get out of this because I don't want to be a part of Kaseya. Others saying that, hey, this is going to be a positive outlook, and they expect a lot of new features and improved support. But it will be interesting to see. Some people are concerned about Kaseya's scale and whether this will affect support responsiveness or flexibility with niche requirements. But of course, Kaseya can throw their larger R&D budget and cross-platform integrations at EnGenius. Just reading the stuff here. A lot of stuff will come up over that. You guys will obviously be reading the forums and forming your own opinions. Full disclosure, I do have some Kaseya products in my stack. EnGenius is not one of them. And while I know EnGenius and I have no problem with EnGenius, I chose not to use EnGenius or even look at them. But I have heard good things about them, and some big news out of Kaseya DattoCon that is happening there. So a lot there. So what I did plan to do tonight was to kind of go over some response that I had received over the last couple of weeks. We were going to also talk about some Wi-Fi stuff. I got a free Wi-Fi access point from EnGenius. I don't remember why I got it. I assume that they were offering it for some sort of review purpose. So I am going to talk about that a little bit. I deployed it today, and I will be using my NetAlly Etherscope to give you guys a little firsthand view of how I look at access points there. Before I get into that, I do want to give a couple of shout outs. One of the things that I have been trying to do was figure out a way to have more open forums. So I was going to redo something I had done a couple of years ago where I had an open house party where I would just have a Zoom meeting where I would invite some people to come on. It would not be recorded. It would not be, live streamed anywhere. It would just be a chance for us to hang out and chat, talk about some things that are going on, ask questions, kind of like a impromptu peer group. And Synology, funny enough, was going to be that topic. And that happened this past Sunday. So I do want to say thank you to Diana Giles, who gave me some feedback. Kyle Kenyon gave me some feedback. And actually, I was going to try to rope Kyle into coming on and chatting about a product that he mentioned, Ugreen, a NAS that I had not heard of. So we're going to research that and come into that. And if you are listening to the audio audio and you wonder why I just started laughing, well, of course, our favorite Keith Nelson asked the question, do you ever shout out to the really old people? And Keith, of course, I just did. So you are welcome. I also want to give a shout out to Troy Casper, who sent me a nice email in response to episode, where is he? 908, where I talked about Ubiquiti, because Ubiquiti is becoming a big part of my stack. But he actually brought some comments about Synology, and was referencing two situations with Synology where they had some compromises, basically something to do with domain access and virtual machines getting encrypted, and was just a little gotcha there about Synology. Diana Giles had talked about how some photos had gotten deleted from a Synology that she was working on that was set up as an SMB share. And even though the logs indicated who the person was that deleted those files, the person's like, I didn't do it. So the mysterious question of how did files get deleted, if the person didn't delete them, blah, blah, blah. And we talked about that. I don't think that that's necessarily a Synology issue. Files get deleted mysteriously all the time on regular servers, regular shares, SMB or otherwise. But the two scenarios that Troy brought up about people getting credentials to the Synology NAS, specifically in a situation where he said that, let me get this email here. Don't know how they got in behind the firewall, but created their own creds in the domain. The Synology had its own creds different from the domain, so we don't know how they got domain access and also access to the Synology to enable SSH and access it. So this was pretty specific in that situation. So Troy, thank you for that. Says, I'm a big Synology fan for many years and used them to download TV shows, movies, blah, blah, blah. Word of caution, I believe there are some unknown vulnerabilities with them and the fact that you use them to store your data. And so, yeah, that was in response to me talking about, so I had been replacing my Datto appliances with Synology for the customers that did not need the full features of the Datto protection. While we can still back up servers, images with Synology, they did not require immediate restoration as a VM, and they were able to, in some cases, only use hyper backup. Let me rephrase that. Active sync. So we would use active sync to back up the physical servers and then hyper back that up to the cloud. In some instances, we were doing the snapshot replication with the Synology and then backing that also up to the cloud. And then I'm still doing it, running virtual machines on a couple of the higher end Synology. So I think Troy and some others were saying that, you may want to rethink that if there's issues with Synologies, but I've not had those issues. I have been running Synologies officially now for, I think, 3 years. And of course, I'm not running any of the lower end stuff. The lowest that I have, well, let me rephrase that. I just put in a 723 at a small office that just needs a file share. That's all we're doing for them. But at the other offices, the lowest I had done before that was a 925 or 923. But the SA3610, the DS3622 XS Plus, and the lowest before that was the DS1621 XS Plus, so that I could run a small virtual machine, do the shares, throw on my Domotes appliance, and some other stuff there. So that was that. Message from the chat on the topic of Synology. We are allowed to use for backups with ports, Homeland Security regulated, but not for any AD services, DNS, DHCP, or network services. They said not secure. That is a good point, Keith. I don't think I use, let Let me rephrase that, because most of my clients have on-prem servers. So we've got HP Active Directory servers that will also do their DHCP DNS. I think I only have one customer where we are actually using the Synology directory server along with their DHCP DNS, and that is a small retail shop that we don't really have to do anything with, and that was kind of a one-off there. All of my other locations where I run the Synology, as I said, we have servers already. We're either just using them for file shares, backup with encryption, the snapshot replication. I run apps on them. I run the Active Insight on them. I run a couple of virtual machines. I run Domotes. I have to look and see what else I run, but I strictly stay within the apps of the Synology. I don't do Dockers, which I think a lot of the people that were leaving Synology and saying that they have not found anything that another NAS couldn't do. And I think a lot of that has to do with running these Dockers, which I don't run the Docker containers. I just use the apps as they are with that. So there was a much longer part of the email from Troy that I'm not going to read, but it basically talks about Datto, and that Datto apparently, Kaseya, has actually been much more aggressive in getting Datto appliances back out in the field. They are doing 1 to 3 year deals with free hardware, and the storage cost apparently has been coming down. I don't know how much storage we're talking about, but he mentions storage costs on one client that is $483 per month, and another that is $200 per month. I had referenced when he and I spoke that I had a client that was paying over $2,000 for their storage. So that was something where they finally said, we just simply can't afford it. It is a nice thing to have, but we don't need it. So let's come up with a different solution. And that's what got me onto the Synologies for that client. Excuse me while I take a sip of my drink to get my throat. The other thing that I wanted to talk about before getting into the Wi-Fi, complaints. So I have had a lovely summer of Marv, not traveling as much, taking care of clients. But of course, what that also has done is opened up the door and the phone opportunity to talk with vendors. And many of my vendors, fantastic. Many of the ones that are courting me, fantastic. They're pleasant. They're courteous. When I tell them that I am okay with my stack, they understand. They ask me if I can tell them what I'm using, and I tell them no, because I don't want to share that information. But my wife reminded me earlier that you talk about it on the show, so if they were smart, they would listen to your show to know what you use. And I said, yeah, that's true. But I've had a couple of little things pop up that annoyed me. And they're not the big things that you would normally think about as, you know, my contracts are all screwed up, my billing is all screwed up. Now, these are things where I've tried. Well, let me explain. So many of you don't know, how do I explain this? So I have been in business 28 years. And when I started my business, it was, yes, out of my house. And I opened up a mailboxes, etc. mailbox as my business address. That became a UPS store. And even though 4 years after starting my business, I actually started renting out space as an office separate from my home. And it has been that way ever since, except for the 3 years except for the 2 years, maybe 1.5, but 2 years when we bought our home that I also worked out of the house. But other than that, I have always had a separate space for my business because I never wanted to have a customer just show up at my house for whatever reason. So that mailbox is still in existence as a UPS store. Now, we have moved quite a bit away from where that location is. I have a physical office. I have a building that is much more space than we need. I pay much more than I should. And some of you, if you knew what I paid, you'd yell at me. But we actually got another UPS mailbox, which is right down the road because it was closer. Because, listen, to go pick up a package at that other UPS store, I mean, you might as well stop, have lunch, and hang out. And I said, no more. So we bought another UPS box. So I have 2 freaking UPS boxes plus my space here. So I have been trying to close that original UPS store. And one of the hardest things to do has been to go on to all of my partners' websites and change my address or change my credit card because the credit cards come to this address. And I just find it absolutely annoying, astonishing, some cases heartbreaking, that I can't just log into my portal, go to my information, change it, and be done with it. In 2 situations, I literally had to have somebody from the company call me to give them the information to change the records. Are you kidding me? And the reason I'm not saying names is because they are well-known names. They may or may not have supported the show. They may or may not be friends of me or the show. And I don't want to put them on blast too much, but I have heard this story from too many people that it's so easy to sign up and they hound you. But when it comes time to make a change, it can't be done. And I know that I referenced the billing stories that people have, that people will go months and months not being able to correct a billing mistake. I'm trying to just simply change an address to a real address. It's not like I'm trying to be shady here. I have been at this location 8 years. I am registered with the state at this address. My business license, my state sales tax, all of that is here. There's no reason that I should have to fight to change the address. And I say fight because I did have one vendor who literally tried to say something, well, you're legally registered at that other place and we can't change it. And I said, that's bullshit. Yeah, I said that because that is not right. I am registered with the state at this address. Now, I do need to make one little mea culpa because I had the same argument with the IRS. Because the IRS, for whatever reason, can't do a simple address change either. We have had to mail in, I'm going to tell you folks, 3 times, 3 stinking times to change our physical service address and our mailing address. Now, part of it's probably my fault. I shouldn't have 3 addresses with my business. And we're stopping that. I'm going to, well, and the other reason is because UPS is screwing us up. I'm tired of UPS. You screwed up the mailboxes, et cetera, when you bought it, and now you can't do shipping right. So that's my gripe with the vendors, in the fact that why can't I change my address? Why can't I change my credit card on your website? Simple enough. And then the other gripe I have, and this is probably a gripe that a lot of you have, there are companies that I have been a partner with. I order stuff from you on the regular. I don't complain. I don't have a ton of support calls. I just do my thing. But I know that I may get a little defensive if you call me and try to sell me another piece of your portfolio. And I say, no, I'm not ready for it. But I would like the ability that when I am looking for it, like I am right now, that I would like to be able to just, once again, why can't I log into my portal and see what the pricing is without having to get in touch with the account manager, set up a discussion, then set up a demo. To be honest, a lot of times I don't need a demo. I've done this long enough that I have a pretty good idea of how most of these products work. And yes, I might not know your particular dashboard specifically, but when I'm ready, I will reach out and say, hey, can you walk me through the dashboard? I'm also, I believe, pretty efficient that I can log into most dashboards and figure at least 50% of it out, which is a lot of times all we ever really use of a dashboard. I don't know anybody that's using like 90% of their dashboard. It'd be nice if we were, and if we were using 80%. There are some dashboards that I use a lot, but there are some dashboards I need to log in and do one or two things to get out. So I always don't need that. But I would just like to, and I'll go ahead and throw this. This is where I'll throw some names out. So I have Enable as my RMM, and many of you have mocked me for staying with Enable, but I keep telling you they work for what I have. I use them for my RMM. I use them for my Bitdefender antivirus protection. I use them for web protection and for some workstation document backups. And then I've got maybe one or two servers that we're doing the backup with. I've not switched over to Cove because I don't think I need to switch over to Cove. I don't need to go to another dashboard to do simple backups. So that's that. Enable has EDR built in. And in order for me to find out what the price is, I got to sign up. I have been with Enable since 2014. Come on. So I have started looking at some other products. Blackpoint Cyber, some of you heard me talk about, where I've told them on November 10th, let's do a trial. I was able to find out that pricing, mainly because a lot of people talked about it, but they were open about it. So now I get to go on and see if their MDR essentials will work for me. I don't know that it will, but I'm willing to try it out. Many of you asked, what about Huntress? What about, there was another one. And I'm like, all right, what's the price? But here's the thing. I'm using Enable. Come on, make it easy for me to figure it out and not have to go talk to these other providers. At least just give me enough information that if the price is too much, I can say thank you. Or if it's right in line with everybody else, all right, I need to check this out because that will help me stay inside your ecosystem. ThreatLocker. ThreatLocker has their EDR. I have ThreatLocker. So the reason I mentioned Enable and ThreatLocker is because I already have those agents on my endpoints. That would help me not to put on another agent. And isn't that what we always talk about? Consolidate your stack. I don't need 20 agents running on workstations. I already have my RMM. I already have the backup. I already have ThreatLocker. I already have, 365 Defender. I've got Action One. We've got too many agents. And so, yes, that is where the ConnectWise, ASCII, the Kaseya 365, trying to consolidate everything into a single bundle, one agent, makes perfect sense. Unfortunately, I don't like those bundles. Not like State Farm. You are so right on, and I have tried to explain this to vendors. If the pricing model does not work, why waste each other's time? Yeah. That's always my issue. Now, listen, I'm a small guy. I'm a little hybrid MSP shop. I cannot imagine what larger shops are going through. If you are a 15, 20 person shop, that is probably the wheelhouse where a lot of vendors are coming at you. And I know I've asked this questions to some of my friends, and they kind of laugh because they have the gatekeeper and stuff. But the idea of being hammered day after day after day to try our product, it's a lot. And there are so many products, literally, I could spend, let's just say if I spent one phone call a day and one demo a day, I would not be able to get through all the vendors in a year. And that's too many vendors to have to consider. So, all of this to say, I know that I just realized on the IT Business Podcast website, I still have up the MSP vendor survey, or I'm sorry, the MSP survey and the vendor survey, where I had asked people to put in the things that they like about the other and things that they dislike about the other. And I've gotten responses that I've just not figured out a way to bring to a show and be fair and be responsible with those comments. But there are a few there, and a lot of them are based around the fact that vendors aren't giving MSPs the proper respect. I'm not going to say all vendors. A lot of vendors are, but there are some that are not. And then when you flip it around, vendors are pissed at the way MSPs treat them, whether it's saying that they're interested and then ghosting them, or trying to not understand the dynamics of being a vendor, and that, everybody can't have a free tier on their product. Those are a couple of things that come up. Those are the low-hanging fruit ones. I can talk about it. So while I was sick, I just kind of started going back and looking at all this stuff that I hadn't addressed yet, because I need to at some point, but my personal experience with trying to change an address and a credit card was just, if I wasn't sick, I'd be fuming. Thank you for putting up with that rant. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and we're over time again. Let's take a quick moment and thank our sponsors for the show, and then I will come back and chat about Wi-Fi and show you the Net Ally. So where's my media stuff? Here we go.
Is your business truly protected from cyber threats? ThreatLocker is the gold standard. Zero trust endpoint protection, trusted by IT professionals everywhere. ThreatLocker blocks everything that is not explicitly trusted, denying all applications and scripts from running unless explicitly allowed. And that includes ransomware. Easy to deploy, easy to manage, and backed by a 24/7 support team that is lightning fast with response times around 60 seconds. Stop cyber attacks before they start and sleep easier at night. Click on the ThreatLocker link in the show notes and start your free 30-day trial today. Lock down your endpoints and say goodbye to ransomware. Be sure to check out our other amazing sponsors. Check out their links in the show notes or visit www.itbusinesspodcast.com/sponsors. And a special thanks to our incredible listener supporters whose monthly contributions help keep this show running strong. We truly appreciate each and every one of you for being the backbone of the IT Business Podcast.
All right. Welcome back. Normally at this time, I would be talking about an Amazon product that somebody had purchased and highlighting that. But because I've been sick, I dropped the ball there. So all I want to do is remind you that Prime Days big deals are happening right now. They started yesterday and they're going on today. So if you normally shop on Amazon and you're looking for some deals, do that. But use the link in the show notes and start with Uncle Marv's Amazon store, and that could be your way to support the show. All right, so let me now share this screen here. What I'm going to bring up here is Link Live, and this is my Net Ally tool that I have. This is the Etherscope, the NHG. This is not the latest version. That is the Cyberscope, and then they're coming out with something later, and I will get to that as soon as we can. But I wanted to bring this up and share the screen so I can show you what I do here. So I'm not going to go too much into the EnGenius model that I got. It is one of their newer models. So I have in my stack already this ECW 230, which is a previous model. And then they just got the ECW 520. And these are supposed to be higher end models. But I do know that the 520 is a 2x2x2, but it has a little bit more features when it comes to security. They also have the Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7 features in them. But I'm just going to basically do this because this is going to start my evaluation for them. As I mentioned earlier, they sent this to me. I don't remember why, but I will find out what I was supposed to do for them and do an official review. But this is going to be all about the NetAlly. So first thing is, when you see me popping on here, you see the problems that come up. And this particular problem is that the devices have been rebooted or started in the last 5 days. That always comes up as a problem on the Etherscope. So one of the things that I love about these is not only can you do some basic network testing and discovery. You see the green dot over the discovery icon there, and that's where I can start to find out what is on the network, every device that is either plugged in, and if you have it set up for Wi-Fi discovery, it will do that as well. But paying close attention to the Wi-Fi feature alone. So if you click on that, the first thing you can see is it gives you this map and overlay. So it tells you what is actually being used in terms of utilization in your environment. Now, this is not just your particular access points. This is everything that the Etherscope can find in the area. So all of the 2.4 gigahertz channels that are in use, and you see there are a lot. And then I've got a few 5 gigahertz that are popping up here down at the bottom. The overlap that you see is basically the channels and all the access points, and you can tell where congestion happens in your channel usage. So that is the Wi-Fi channel map there. So what I want to do is go to where I normally start is with the SSIDs. And the reason I do this, and I have it sorted by signal, you can do it by SNR, SSID, channel count, AP count, blah, blah, blah. But I do the signal because I will normally walk into an area. And in this particular case, I have all of the access points on the other side of our building. And I am, maybe 100 feet away. There is a kitchen wall in between and another wall for this room. And this gives me an idea of which SSIDs I'm getting the best signal from. And this Direct 97 is actually a multifunction printer that is right on the other side there. And MB Systems is our primary network here. And if we click on that there, you can see the information for that access SSID. We're using WPA and WPA2. I've got one access point that we're utilizing for that. It is, even though it says open mesh, it is a Datto. And this particular model is an AP440. And I've got 10 clients on it right now. Like I said, that's our primary access point that we use. But this gives me an idea. If I can see what the signal strength is between access points by SSID, this MB EnGenius are the two EnGenius access points. And this is telling me that the Datto access points are providing a much better signal than the EnGenius. This APT Comcast is actually the landlord on the other side of my space here. So they're, I believe, is right on the other side of the wall. That's why they're closer. But the two EnGenius access points, they are literally right next to the Datto access point. So that tells me that the performance, while it might be good, it is not, in terms of signal strength, better than the Datto. So the Datto is much better. Now, I don't think I set them up because I wanted to show you this here. Yes, I did not do that. So another thing that I can do from this screen here is when I go into the SSIDs, let's say I click on guest and I want to do a test from that. I'm going to go in here, click connect, put in the password. Worried about you seeing it because it is a guest. Yes, it's that simple. If you come here and you want to get on my guest Wi-Fi, you can do that. So now I can hit start and run a Wi-Fi test here. Tells me what the signal strength is, the decibel noise, gives me an idea of the approximate speed I can expect. And I'm not really happy with that speed at 117 coming from a Datto. But there's the channel and utilization of that channel, my IP address, and it tells me the AP440. And it also does some test out to the internet and gives me millisecond speed and gives me a success back when it goes out and does its tests. So all green there, so that tells me that that is good. So now I'm going to go down to, back up to EnGenius Guest, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go down here and connect and enter the credentials. That is the guest. So once again, I'll put in those secret credentials that you guys can still when you're here. Click OK and start the test there. Another reason I like using these as my test as opposed to Wi-Fi Man or something on your phone or on your laptop is that the Etherscope as well as the AirCheck NetAlly tools, these are dedicated tools that don't get messed up by software, other things that you're running on the machine. They're going to perform the same test every single time. And as you can see, the EnGenius device, so even though the signal strength, I'm only getting at 60. The speed is much higher. It actually picked channel 136 where the utilization is only 5%. This is that new 520 model that I mentioned. I'm actually a little concerned here because it has not yet grabbed DHCP. So I'm not quite sure why that might be. Although, what I may not have done is because I have the guest VLANs separate, I might need to go in and configure VLAN there. So let me go see what is. I don't know if I know this password. Let me see if I can guess it. I'm going to hide the screen. Hide the screen while I put in the password and see if that works. Waits for riveting. That works there. Back up and probably not. I'm going to stop it. Change the password to the other password that I normally use for these. And if you are bored and leaving, I'm sorry. Clean back up here and start again. I think this is it. It isn't. It's running. Doesn't look like it either. Well, you at least see my process as to what I would do with testing and using the EnGenius to do that. Yep, did that fail? I'll see if I have one other here on here. It's the only ones I have set up here. So, all right. So I didn't prepare properly for you, but you get an idea of what I would do. But just even this alone, by being able to see what your signal strength is, what your S&R is, which is also something that is good here. You want to have low SNR, which is interesting, or high SNR. So your high SNR are going to give you your best signal. So again, my Datto gives me the better one. Comcast, Skin Center, and then EnGenius is down here. So those are two things that you can do. And I'm sure you can do those with some of the other tools there. All of that. So half our audience. I knew it. Yeah, start to talk a little tech and people leave. So, all right. So I think that is pretty much it for today's show here. I see Matt had thrown in another comment here, I believe. Yeah, this was related to vendors. Sometimes the only option is to ghost them. Once you tell them no so many times, it becomes a waste of time to interact at any level. I have mixed feelings on that because I understand their job as salespeople. They got to keep trying. And a lot of times they'll just simply ask, hey, can I put you in my tickler file to reach out in a few months or something like that? I usually just tell them, look, don't even reach out for a year. I am not going to revisit my stack for a year. So don't waste your time contacting me in a month or 2 months. My mind is not going to change that fast. So that is something, yeah, if somebody is persistent, I've had times where people are literally calling once a month, and I'm at the point where I'm like, don't do it. I'm not going to need to talk to you every month. In fact, I don't want to talk to my existing reps once a month unless I have things that we want to follow up on and stuff like that. I'm too busy running my business. I'm too busy dealing with clients. I'm busy, there's only so many times, so many hours in the day to do stuff. So, all right. Thank you all for hanging out. It looks like my throat made it. We are coming up to the 50-minute mark, and this was about the time I thought that I would start petering out. Thank you for hanging in there. This was kind of an impromptu show, if you can't tell by the prep that I did to get us ready. I will be back next week. Kyle Kenyon will be on the show, Pro Tech guy. We will chat about some stories and stack items there. I have a NSITSP member profile that will be released, I believe, tomorrow. And that is going to feature Diana Giles with Skyline IT Management. We've got a couple of other podcasts that I've got scheduled. And then people want to know, when is the Summer of Marv over? Well, it was supposed to be over this week. As I mentioned, I was supposed to be at DattoCon. That did not happen, but it will be over the last week of October, as I will be in Philadelphia for the ASCII Cup. And that is happening on, I believe it's the 28th and 29th, whatever the Wednesday and Thursday are. Or is it the 29th and 30th? Because Friday is Halloween, and that's the 31st. So, yeah, that's Wednesday and Thursday. I will be in Philadelphia for ASCII Cup. We believe we'll be doing some podcasts from ASCII Cup. And then the week after that, the first week of November, I will be in Orlando for IT Nation, where we will be presenting steak knives to the third place winner of the Pitch It competition. I've got to go out and get those from the dollar store, but I will be at IT Nation. Be there. I got to find out. Stay this year, right? Yeah, I got to figure that out. I don't know if I'll be there the entire time, but I will be there for sure. At least 2 days in the Orlando area, and hope to see you guys there. You can hear my throat starting to go, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Matt, Keith, and others in the chat, others watching, thank you for tuning in. Everyone else, thank you for downloading and subscribing. Be sure to use the Amazon store link to do your Amazon big deal shopping. We'll see you soon. Holla.